This is Sam Nonwork here for Definitive Esports, and I'm here with Greg.IdrA Fields. Greg, you just qualified for the second stage of the tournament, 4-0, a clean sweep against Roro and Stefano. How do you feel?
Really, really good. Really surprised. I mean, I knew I was playing well going into this, but I'm pretty sure my group was the hardest. I thought Roro was going to be, honestly, a lot. He was really good, but I thought he was going to be a lot better than he was. And then Stefano. So I thought I would like scrape by in second. Instead, 4-0 sweep the first. Surprised and happy.
Do you feel like you got a lucky draw, seeing as like Stefano beat Hero? Do you think that like you would have either gotten second or third if you had actually faced up against Hero?
No, I'm playing really well, and Hero seems to be pretty tilted versus Zerg. Like I was watching his games versus Stefano, he just made bad decisions. Like it feels like he's lost in the matchup right now. He lost to Scarlet pretty badly in MLG too, and my ZVP has gotten a lot better. Like it's still my weakest matchup, but it's much better. I honestly felt Roro would be the hardest player in the group for me to beat.
So your only previous experience against playing a Kespa Zerg at a LAN was Soulkey at this. So do you think that you've got like a specific like read on what Kespa Zergs usually play and like in general?
Nah, they're totally different. Soulkey did like a 2-gas Baneling bust the first game versus me and then played really aggressive into Infestor, whereas Roro is just like completely passive Roach Hydra macro. That's what I'm really good at, and Soulkey caught me off guard, so like it's each of the player. The Kessler players don't have a overall style too much.
Like, do you think that would you consider that like ZVZ is getting more stable? Because your display here today was pretty impressive, and like, do you feel like you're getting like that you're seeing that the matchup is sort of stabilizing and getting like to a certain sort of meta game, or do you still feel like it's very up in the air and it's very random and iffy?
I think mid game is definitely stabilizing. Early game, I think you're always going to have the early pool versus middle pool versus hatch first, rock, paper, scissors. I think that's just the nature of the matchup. It was the same way in StarCraft 1. That's just something we have to deal with. But yeah, mid game you can go Muta or you can go Infestor, but everything has like stable build orders, stable plans out from the initial opening, and both can counter each other depending on the map and depending on control and macro. So I think the mid game is stabilized a lot. I'm actually pretty happy with the matchup right now.
Okay, so now that you're through to the round of 16, how do you consider your chances with people like Baby Knight and Parting advancing, and do you think that like you have a good chance overall?
Baby Knight actually beat Rain into second place in his group, assuming he wins out. I imagine he will. So I actually get to play Rain in the round of 16. So that's a nice reward for 4-0ing the hardest group. That'll be tough. Like I said, my ZVP is better, and there are holes in his late game PvZ, but his mid game PvZ I think is the best in the world. Yeah, it's gonna be hard just to survive. He's incredibly good.
Yeah. ZVP is also a matchup that's in a state of kind of disarray, like at least in like mentally for Protoss players. And we saw that in the OSL finals between Dongregu and Rain, that he very often he went for very early timing attacks rather than actually trying to play it out late game. And do you think that like that's the right style to play as Protoss, and do you feel like you're up to par to defend his timing attacks because they seem to be unstoppable when he like controls them the way he does?
I think 2-base Immortal all-in, very strong build, maybe the best like rush in the game right now. It's defensible on most maps, but not 100%. But as for the late game, I think it's not as bad. Like Protoss are obviously very depressed and upset, and the matchup may be in Zerg's favor right now. However, I don't think Protoss are really playing it right late game. They are starting to figure out this mass speed war Prism harass, which is really good, but they don't understand that that's just to buy time and wear the Zerg down and force them to attack you. And so they just stick on Stalker Archon, and then eventually they end up against a 265 Broodlord Infestor army and wonder why they lose. Like, when you do that, what you have to do is transition into Air and Templar, and then, because what usually happens when you go Air is you win the first battle, but then you lose to the Remax on Corruptors. But with the War Prism Harass behind it, then you just kind of take out the bases if you do it right and if the game goes in your favor. And then they can't have that Remax, and so then your carry Templar Mothership army just wins. Like, I think that is what Protoss need to be doing. And it may still be underpowered, but we need to explore that before they really bitch as much as they are.
Have you actually seen any Protoss that has implemented this this style that you say is superior? And like, have you ever played against it? And have you ever like experienced that it's really hard to just like actually counter as a Zerg?
Minigun actually is the only player I've seen do it, and he beat me with it on ladder. I mean, a lot of players do air transitions. A lot of them do void rays, which is just terrible. Don't do that. But yeah, not too many Protoss players do it. Most of them are stuck on the Warp Bruiser Pass, and then they stick on the Ground Army and try and get a Vortex off, which is a really risky, bad way to play.
You also mentioned the Immortal, 2-base Immortal all-in, and like, it's often very map dependent on where you do it. Like, you can't pull it off on Entombed and like the larger maps, but like, what do you have to do? Because like, say that you pull off you choose your vetoes, and a map like Ohana with a short rush distance is left. Like, do you almost instantly expect like the 2-base Immortal in, or like, what do you do to counter it there?
It's really, really hard. There's a good chance it's going to happen. Some Protosses will, like, they know that that's expected, so they'll mind game you take the 3rd base, and then they'll do a follow-up, like later Immortal Stalker Sentry attack. Creator's really fond of those, to take advantage of the fact that you overmake units early on expecting the Immortal Rush. But yeah, it's a really powerful build, something you definitely have to be prepared for. And there's not like a super hard counter to it. Players like Hyun like to make a big round of Speedlings early and try and catch you out in the middle of the map. But if Protoss recognizes that and just sits back and waits for a round of Zealots, then you don't have enough drones to continue the Roche production. And with the extra Zealots, the Zerglings don't do anything. So there's kind of mind games in it. They're trying to catch your opponent off guard, all of that. But other than that, it's mostly just down to control and flanking. Try and force them to burn force fields and try and catch them in like a good engagement for you.
Okay then. Like, it's pretty odd seeing where we are right now in Wings of Liberty, because 2 years ago we saw the dreaded GOM TVT seasons, and everyone was then saying that there's nothing that can beat a Terran. It will always be the most solid race with the most like amount of players in it. But now when we are reaching the end of Wings of Liberty, we see that for the World Championship Series finals, there are only 4 Terrans qualified. Like, none of them are Korean either. Do you feel like that says something about balance, or is it more about players and the Terran players in general? What's your opinion on it?
Well, the players and circumstances is a big part of it. Like, if you look at GSL, there's 4 Terrans in round 8 right now, and there was something like 60% Zergs going into that, or there were a lot of Zergs in the round of 16 and round of 32. Now there's 4 Terrans left. They're obviously beating people along the way. Like, Terrans can win, just a lot of them are kind of bad. But yeah, going into this, like, Terrans usually come from Korea. Foreign Terrans just have never been up to par since like the early days when it was ridiculous. But a lot of the good Terrans just didn't play the WCS qualifiers for whatever reason. IEM was at the same time that knocked out MVP, maybe MMA. And it was also during the period where Korean Protosses just kind of didn't lose. There was 2 months there where they just beat everyone. And so that's why we have 6 Protosses here. And they knocked out a lot of the Korean Terrans, who are usually the Terran representation at tournaments. Zerg is obviously doing really well right now. Everyone acknowledges that. But at the same time, you have to look at the gameplay, and I mean, Terrans are having some success in GSL, so again, people are kind of running around, their heads cut off a bit too quick.
You mentioned that like Zerg in general has been doing well now for quite a while. Then, if this is not too much of a personal question, how come you haven't been doing just as well then, seeing like like players like Johnny Rico come up on the scene? Like, when I've been watching you quite closely, and like it's like I see him play and I just think that like he's not doing anything that like EG.IdrA can't do. So like, why do you feel like you personally haven't like had the same success as some of these upcoming Zergs like Vortex and yeah, in general other Zergs?
Well, a big part of that is perception. If you sit back and objectively look at me versus Johnny Rico, our performances, he's not here. He hasn't placed at MLGs. He hasn't really played any big offline tournaments. Like, he's a very good player. I don't want to knock him. But just the way you phrase the question, like, I have actually performed much better than him and much more consistently than someone like Vortex, pretty much better than all of the patch Zergs. It's just people expect more of me because I am me. But like, I was the 6th highest foreigner the last MLG. I got into groups of one before that as well. I got 4th in American WCS, and that was back when I was still really shitty, and it's still there. And then I got 3rd place at WCS NA. Like, my results have not been that bad at all. I've had a few bad tournaments, but so does everyone. Like, competition is way too hard right now for everyone to win, and for anyone to win everything. So it's mostly just people have really high expectations of me, which is fine. I want to win everything. That's what every pro gamer's goal should be. But then to go and say, why aren't you performing as well as these people? And I'm actually performing better than them. It's kind of stupid.
Oh, okay. Sorry for being stupid.
It happens.
Sorry. So like, to kind of wrap this up, do you feel like maybe like it's maybe most evident with like Home Story Cup, where you crushed through your group stage, where everyone's expectations was on you the next day, where like you came into a group and everyone thought that it looked beatable for you, but you fell out of it, and like I guess people then like are like attributing that to like other tournaments where like you pass through the first group stage, but then in like maybe the round of 16 or the next stage you fall out. Do you feel like that's also due to like you having so much expectation on you, and like do you feel like you can conquer it here, and how do you feel?
No, expectations don't bother me at all. Like, I'm used to competing. I actually play much better live events just because I get like pumped and it's easier to focus. And it makes everyone else play worse for the most part just because they're not as used to it. They don't have as much experience as me. So I'm absolutely comfortable in any kind of competitive environment. As live is just like the people who make it to the second day of the tournament, they're usually the better players. They just beat a bunch of people to get there. So it's harder. And sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days. It happens.
Okay, last question. What is it with China, and why do you have the most success in this country?
I don't know. Like, I don't particularly enjoy traveling here. It's a long way away from the U.S. I had a 14-hour plane trip. The food's not my favorite. Last time I actually had food poisoning, I was like throwing up in the bathroom the night before. I went and won against Puma and whatever. So I don't know. Something works out.
Okay then. Finally, like, it's time for this sponsor wrap, I guess. Who do you want to thank? And yeah, that's basically it.
I'd like to thank Team Evil Geniuses, all our great sponsors, title sponsor Raid Call, also Intel, Monster, Steel Series, Kingston HyperX, Beyond Gaming, and Sapphire, and thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thanks. This is Sam Nogo for Definitive Esports at the Blizzard World Championship Finals in China.